This Florida rep just got busted with $5 million in FEMA funds, according to the indictment, and somehow she's playing it off like she's the victim. And you won't believe where that money ended up. In this video, I'll show you why this U.S. Congresswoman could spend the rest of her life in prison, how another rep stole campaign money to buy cashmere capes, fur coats, and Michael Jackson's red jacket from Thriller, and how you're the one stuck paying these people for the rest of their lives after they get caught. Let's jump in. All right, let's go back to 2021. The pandemic's still a mess. FEMA's throwing around emergency contracts to get vaccines out the door, and one of those contracts lands in the hands of Trinity Healthcare Services, a company owned by the family of U.S. Democrat House Rep Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, who represents Florida's 20th Congressional District, which includes areas in Broward and Palm Beach County. She was the CEO at the time. Totally legal so far. Then, allegedly, FEMA overpays, and not by a little. Here's what happened. According to prosecutors, the company was accidentally paid more than $5 million rather than $50,000 due to a clerical error. And the company knowingly processed the invoice and refused to give the money back. Now come on, $5 mil? You know somebody's gonna come looking for that kind of bread. And FEMA money is a big deal in Florida. We got blasted last year with 2 hurricanes, and FEMA's the department that provides funds to let cities and homeowners rebuild their lives. Ripping off FEMA is a big deal here. She knows that. But here's where things get even more sketchy. The feds say that instead of returning the cash, Sheila and people close to her moved the money through different accounts, and eventually some of it wound up funding her 2021 congressional campaign. But it doesn't stop with her. Her brother Edwin Cherfilus, who worked at Trinity, was also charged with money laundering and theft of government funds. Her former chief of staff, Nadege LeBlanc, was charged for straw donations, and her accountant, David K. Spencer, got hit for conspiring to file a false tax return. So it looks like the whole crew is getting dragged into it. If convicted, Sheila's facing up to 53 years. Her brother, 35. Her chief of staff, 10. The accountant, 33. Now, she's already been indicted by a grand jury in Florida, and the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said this: "No one is above the law, least of all powerful people who rob taxpayers for personal gain. We will follow the facts in this case and deliver justice." It's kind of ironic she used those exact words, because back in 2023, when the Biden Department of Justice was trying to railroad Trump, Sheila was busy posting this: "No American is above the law, not even a former president." Turns out she was right, and now they got her. And get this, the House Ethics Committee said publicly in January 2025 that it was also investigating Sheila after receiving a referral from the Office of Congressional Ethics in September of 2023. So this chick's been on everybody's radar. According to the indictment, Sheila didn't just misplace some funds or hit the wrong button. This looks like a full-on group effort, and the people closest to her were allegedly all in on it. The feds say they didn't just keep the FEMA money, they allegedly chopped it up, moved it around through different businesses and personal accounts, and then used a chunk of it to fund her campaign. But they couldn't just cut a check directly. That'd be too obvious. So they used something called straw donations. That's when someone donates money to a campaign, but it's not their money. Somebody else gives it to them to donate in their name. So on paper, it looks totally legal. But in reality, it's one person funneling a bunch of cash through different names to get around the law. In this case, prosecutors say the FEMA overpayment was the source of that money. Now here's what Sheila had to say about it.
And I look forward to my day in court so I can prove myself and actually state the truth. But if this is what Congress is becoming, where they're always trying to intimidate you, scare tactics, especially attacking minorities, black and brown people, then we're going to have to keep fighting for the district. And everybody has been giving me so much support, and we're going to keep fighting until the district gets what it needs, which is fair prices, housing, and fair representation in Congress. So thank you so much.
The district needs you not to steal $5 million from FEMA, lady, allegedly. Now here's where it's going to get interesting. The DOJ is going to be looking for the first person to flip, because Sheila's the big fish. Her accountant, her chief of staff, they're probably already cutting deals behind the scenes to save themselves and stay out of jail. This thing's just getting started, and it's going to get messy. She could be looking at a whole bunch more charges when everybody starts turning on her. But she's not the only one doing shady in Congress these last few weeks. Check out what just happened with Democrat Representative Stacey Plaskett from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Back in February 2019, during a congressional hearing where lawmakers were questioning Michael Cohen, Trump's old lawyer, Stacey was texting with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, the same convicted sex offender. And yeah, this is another case of trying to get Trump. But these weren't harmless messages. Epstein was watching the hearing live on TV and was feeding her tips and giving her suggestions on what to ask. One message from him said, Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets. She replied, Rona? Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? That's a sitting member of Congress texting Jeffrey Epstein during a live hearing, asking him what to say. And remember, he was already a convicted sex offender at the time. And this isn't just some internet rumor, it's real. These texts came straight from the newly released Epstein documents, and according to FEC records, Epstein directly donated $8,100 to her campaign. So it seems like they were pretty good friends. On November 18th, 2025, the House voted on a resolution to censure Stacey. Censure is a formal punishment, an official statement from Congress that says, you screwed up, you disgraced the institution. It doesn't remove you from office, but it stays on your record forever. It's the kind of thing that shows voters Congress isn't just looking the other way, but it really doesn't actually do anything. But guess what? The vote failed, 209 to 214. So even some Republicans voted to block it. No censure, no consequences. So we got one Congresswoman under indictment for allegedly funneling $5 million in FEMA money into her campaign. Another was texting Epstein during an investigation and taking what looks like coaching from him. And so far, neither one is being punished by Congress, which makes it look like all these politicians in Washington are there to protect each other first and the American people last. Because if this is what they do out in the open, imagine what's going on behind closed doors. And here's the bigger question. Has anybody actually ever been kicked out of Congress for shady stuff? The answer is yes, but it's super rare. In over 200 years, it's only happened 6 times. Just 6. And the most recent, U.S. House Rep George Santos. A couple years ago, Santos, the Republican from New York, got caught doing a whole lot of stupid stuff. He lied on his resume, pocketed about $374,000 in campaign cash, and cashed in on $24,000 in COVID unemployment benefits he wasn't supposed to have. The House didn't wait around. They voted him out 311 to 114 on December 1st, 2023, right after the Ethics Committee report dropped. An Ethics Committee report is basically Congress investigating itself. When a member's accused of doing something shady, misusing money, abusing power, breaking rules, the Ethics Committee looks into it. The report is their official write-up. Here's what they were accused of, here's what we found, and here's what we think should happen. But keep in mind, Santos wasn't even convicted of a crime yet when they expelled him. He later pled guilty, got sentenced to 87 months. That's just over 7 years. And while he was serving that sentence, he spent 41 days in solitary confinement. 41 for nonviolent fraud. They claimed it was for his safety, but come on, that's the kind of thing they do for murderers and gang leaders. Not a congressman who bought Botox with donor money. That's what he did. He bought Botox. After Trump heard of the hard time he was serving, he pardoned him. Now let's look at Jesse Jackson Jr., a Democrat who represented District 2 in Chicago. He stole $750,000 in campaign funds, spent it on Rolex watches, cashmere capes, because you always got to have a good cape, fur coats, and Bruce Lee and Michael Jackson memorabilia. He pled guilty in 2013, got 30 months, served it at a low-security prison camp, no solitary, no expulsion. He resigned on his own, and get this, he still got to keep his congressional pension. So guess what that means? We get to pay this guy for the rest of his life. We're so lucky. And here comes the crazy part. Jesse Jackson Jr. just announced that he's going to run again for the same seat he once held. Only in America can you steal from your voters, go to jail, tell everybody you're sorry.
It's not a proud day. I'm sorry I let everybody down.
And you'll behave this time and have those same voters possibly vote you back into office. Are you telling me he's the best candidate the Democrats got to run for that seat? Americans need to stand up and demand better from our politicians, not vote them back in. That's ridiculous. So what happens now to Sheila and her 53 years in prison she's facing? You think she'll do any time? You think Congress is going to do anything about it? Here's what U.S. House Republican Greg Steube, who represents Florida's Suncoast, had to say about it.
I think I've taken a pause. We filed the resolution. I'm not calling for a vote immediately because I believe the members have the right to read the underlying report from the Ethics Committee. I spoke with the Speaker this morning and he encouraged me to allow that to work itself out. I think that's wise, and I think it'll be a more informed decision for not just Republicans and Democrats, but for every member of the House to be able to read the report once it's released.
I think that's smart. You should get all the facts before taking any action.
If she does not resign, I'll wait until after the Ethics Committee has released their report.
Do you think she will resign?
I think when the report is made public and then the details of the underlying evidence of the felonious activity become public, I think it would be very hard for her to stay in office. It would certainly make the process easier for her, I think, than getting expelled from Congress. There's not many members that have been expelled informally from the House. So I certainly would think that she would want to take that approach over forcing the House to expel her.
She's definitely going to resign. After seeing what went down with Santos, she knows she's in trouble and they're going to kick her out. I don't think even the Democrats can put their careers on the line for this one. But there is some good news out of this. Sheila needs to be in Congress until January of 2027 to get her pension. So if she gets booted or resigns in the next year, we won't have to pay for her for the rest of her life. And really, why are we even paying congressional pensions? With all the insider trading that's making them multimillionaires that they refuse to outlaw, why can't they build their own retirement fund? But that's another video for another day. Believe me, it's not all doom and gloom in Florida politics, and Governor Ron DeSantis is working hard down here for the people. Click here to learn about Florida's new plan to end property taxes and why these politicians are losing their minds over it. Local governments are wasting billions in property tax money, and this plan stops it cold and wipes out your taxes. Click here, and I'll see you there.